So one of the biggest problems today is high electrical costs. I know being in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona, and it's actually gorgeous out here, but in about another 3 or 4 months, it's gonna get really high. And bills get really high. Now this happens all over the country now, more on the 2 coastlines than in the middle, and I'll explain that later. But right now, what we're looking at is a constant increase in electricity every year. Now I'm gonna explain 2 reasons why. Number 1, there's inflation. In 1971, we went off the gold standard. Ever since then, prices double on everything. It's not just electricity, it's food, it's housing, it's cars. You can take it. You can take what a car cost in 1968 and you can take it to 1988, and guess what a brand new Ford Explorer costs in 1968? $2,500. You double that every 12 years and you have a car that costs $50,000 today. You can do it with a home. A home in Scottsdale was, in 1968, was $14,000. That same home today is $250,000, $350,000, pick a range. Okay, so electricity is just a normal thing that every other product in this country goes through. It's called inflation, and it isn't going away. Okay, but as far as electrical, we hate paying our electrical bill. We don't mind paying car payment if it's a car we like. We don't mind paying a little extra for a steak that we like, but we do mind paying the same electric bill every single month. And when it gets higher and higher and higher, now we got a problem, because to us, it's just electricity. We take it for granted. There's only one way to stop that inflation, and that is solar. I don't care what you say, I don't care what you look at. You could talk about new technology coming in the future, but it isn't going to change inflation. Only solar will do that. Let me explain how. There's 5 different ways that you can go solar. Many different ways, actually, but it's all the same thing. Let's say you pay for solar cash up front. A lot of people say, well, that's an investment. No, it's not an investment. An investment has a return. How can you have a return on something you have to buy anyways? That doesn't make any sense. Do you sit there and say, well, I'm investing $50 in my gas tank today? No, you don't. You need power to run your house. It's not an investment. How you look at solar, let's say you're buying for cash. Well, you pay, I don't know, $25,000. I don't know the size of your home, but let's say it costs $25,000. You get a government tax incentive, you reduce the price down to $18,000, and that's about it, right? And what you get for solar in that next 20 to 30 years is about 500,000 kilowatt hours that you prepaid up front for about a nickel. A nickel a kilowatt hour. That's what you prepaid. So, if you go to APS or SRP or let's see, who's some utility companies in
P&G,
PE&G, San Diego Gas and Electric. It doesn't matter where you live, in Nevada or Texas, it doesn't matter. If you go to them and say, look, I'm gonna pay you $20,000 up front for the next 20 or 30 years of electricity I use, they're gonna laugh at you. They're gonna laugh at you because they're not gonna make a profit, all right? But that's what solar is when you pay for cash. Now let's take a look at leasing. Now leasing has a bad name, but improperly purchased or looked at, yes, it can be bad, or it can be really good. Leasing is the lowest way you can get a kilowatt hour. All leasing is that you're paying for electricity as it's being produced. How you use it is up to you, but you're paying for it as it's being produced, and you're paying for it at a lower kilowatt rate than you're buying right now from the utility company. Great program. What are the problems in leasing? Well, the only problems I see in leasing is how it's being sold to you. Leasing got a bad name because the salespeople out there are trying to make additional money. They use a 2 or 3% per year increase, telling you that it's going to be better because the utility is going up at 5% every year. Well, that's not always true. So, but leasing at a 2 or 3% increase every year will give you its lowest upfront first year. So you'll have a $15 a month savings. Big whoop. I'm not in it for that. I'm in it because I don't want inflation. So when you lease, you always lease 0 increase. It stays the same in year 1, year 5, year 10, year 20. Imagine you getting a solar system on your roof that takes care of all of your problems. I mean, as far as your usage, okay? You lease it at 14 cents a kilowatt hour. Well, electricity in Arizona is costing almost 16 cents a kilowatt hour. And it's going to stay that way for the next 20 years. That's a no-brainer, folks. You don't want to change that, okay? So always do that. Now, let's say you don't want to lease, and there's some reasons why you don't want to. Number one, if you're going to sell your house within 5 years, probably shouldn't lease. Okay, number one, it's got to transfer to the next homeowner, and they have to assume that payment. Now, obviously it's a good payment, but what if they don't want to? Then you lose on a sale of a house. So you don't want to do that. Reason being that what leasing does is it pays for the government tax incentive. They take that for you. They reduce the cost of the system by that. Then they also have an advantage that you don't as a residential homeowner, because to them, if they're a commercial company, they can also depreciate the system over a 5-year period, plus a bonus depreciation, which further lowers the cost. So there's very little bit left to finance. So that part that's being financed is at a very high interest rate. Plus they have to account for servicing that system for the next 20 years, which they do. There is no problems in that. They service the system, they assume all liability, they insure it, they install it. All you pay for is the electricity it produces, okay? However, other than that, when you lease, you plan to be in it for quite some time. Now, another option that people do, because they do plan on selling their house, they don't want to, if they want to sell in 3 years or they want to sell in 7 years, you finance the system. The finance payment alone is lower than your electric payment or the same, and you own it. It's part of the house. So if you go to sell it, no problem. The only thing is you can't depreciate it because you're a residential person. You can only own it, okay? So there is no depreciation. So that's the only thing you lose. You get the government tax incentive, you get everything else, all right? Now, another way to get solar is by your local utility company. They're offering people right now a 20-30% reduction if you put a solar system on your house. But the problem here is you're still gonna get rate increases. You're not subject to rate increase. You're still gonna be subjected to rate increases. So you don't know what the future is. And if you sell the house, the person may not want to accept APS's or SRP's panels on your house. So the best way that nobody uses to go solar, and I'm telling you right now, nobody does this, is you refi your house, putting solar on it, it's assumed in the house immediately. Your monthly electricity goes down to nothing. You get the government tax incentive up front, okay? So now you're positive $4,000 to $5,000, and you don't have an electric bill anymore. And your house payment may have gone up $100. That's it. So those are all the ways to go solar: cash, lease, and in the leasing concept, you can do several different things. You can go no money down, you can put it all down, a prepaid lease. We'll talk about that later, but anyways, those are all the ways to go solar. It's the best way I can explain it to you in this short little video. Give me a call. I'm Steve Caparella, New Sun Energy Concepts, and I'm looking forward to talking with you personally.